Hello and welcome. It's being described as the battle for Pakistan's future. On one hand, a fight to preserve a tolerant, modernizing country, while on the other, allowing people to practice Islam how they believe they should. On the ground, military action has escalated, with Islamabad using heavy bombardment to capture a Taliban base of 4,000 fighters in the Swat Valley. The region is one where a deal was negotiated by the government with local religious leaders to allow a stricter interpretation of Islam to be enforced. The controversial decision to make such a deal generated a lot of criticism for the Pakistani government, both domestically and internationally. It's led to strict rules imposed that forbid listening to music, force men to grow their beards, and women to almost completely cover themselves. Some of these practices are now being introduced by religious conservatives in major cities across the country. But Pakistani moderates consider this an attack on personal freedoms. On today's show, we ask, what brand of Islam will prevail in Pakistan? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. Log on to livestation.com/AJE, enter the chat room and take part. And of course, we also welcome your phone calls on the show. Well, joining me to discuss the issue, I'm joined by Asma Jahangir, Pakistan's best-known human rights lawyer and staunch campaigner against the abuse of power that affected much of Pakistan over the years. She was a founding member and chair of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, has been frequently targeted for taking such a strong stand for justice. Now, I want to thank you very much for joining us on this issue. Of course, it's a very serious one that Pakistanis are wondering where it's going to go. When you hear the expression going around a lot nowadays that Pakistan is the next Afghanistan, how do you feel about that comparison? How realistic is it?
Well, I don't know whether I should feel offended, because Afghanistan for me also is a great country. But the point is that we don't have to go that way. And the other issue is that I think that somehow there's a mixed reaction about Pakistan when people call it a failed state. It certainly is not a failed state. There is a civil society there. There are institutions there. They may not work as well as many other countries, but they are there. But what we are confronted with is a huge challenge. It's a challenge that is not confronting only Pakistan. Unfortunately, because of the wrong policies of our military and our leadership, we have housed and given hospitality, if I may say so, official hospitality, to militants who want to create a world of their own brand of Islam.
What is it specifically that worries you the most about the recent developments? Of course, it's spreading out from the valleys into the cities.
It's so complex, Riz, that if you ask me and you say to me, do you side with this or do you side with that, it's very difficult. I know that the government had no choice, but I also know that the government didn't do it on its own. I also know that the military was reluctant, and I also know that they have now gone in, but I don't know how they're doing it. But at the end of it, I am also very well aware that it is the non-combatant Pakistanis who are suffering. So how do you feel about it?
What specifically do you feel the government is doing wrong then?
Everything. The government is doing everything wrong. On the one hand, they tell us as citizens, these militants are good Pakistanis, they are our friends, they are patriotic people, very noble people, and 1 month later they're killing them. What message does it send to me? There is no message for us.
Let me put an email question we got from Amina Wasif in Lahore in Pakistan. She sent this by internet to us saying, do you think that a major revolution in Pakistan is in order? Do you think Pakistans have finally realized the mortal danger their country faces and are willing to do anything to avert it?
No, I don't think so. I think we are still sitting in a state of self-denial. We are very confused. All of us are, including myself. I know that there are different groups of militants, whether you call them Al-Qaeda, whether you call them Taliban, whether you call them Pakistan-born, they have a link together. I also know that they have a link of some sort with the military. And at the same time, the military is fighting them. So I'm a well-informed Pakistani. I'm very confused. So what do you expect other Pakistanis to be? And then, on the one hand, the government will sit in Washington, embrace Washington. On the other hand, there is all this media, including on PTV, which is government controlled, bashing US, bashing US. So where are we going?
A lot of contradictory messages.
Contradictory.
Let me get a call in from Saudi Arabia. Fauzan, what would you like to ask?
Yeah. I'm hearing this Asma Jahangir speaking contradictory language. She says, who means Pakistani military is responsible, U.S. government is responsible, Pakistani. What's she talking about? Can she spell out clearly that who is the prime cause for all these problems?
All right, Fauzan, let's put that to Asma.
No, look, when you ask me who's the prime cause, I cannot single out one individual or one institution. I think definitely the Pakistan military is extremely responsible for it. They have misled the country. They have miscalculated all their foreign policy goals. They have certainly been an obstacle to democratization of Pakistan. As far as the US administration is concerned, the Bush administration was a disaster. If you want a clean, complete answer from me, they were a disaster, not only for Pakistan, but the entire world. But mind you, that's not all. What Saudi Arabia's role has been in Pakistan is even more disastrous. The kind of money that they have given to the militants, I don't think they have stopped there ever now. And they treat our people in Saudi Arabia so badly, so horribly, that I think that that is a nexus that we have to really address.
Let me ask you about the role of the civil government. You say the military has done this and that, but as far as the General Musharraf, the argument was the military was in power, he needed to be removed, he's gone. What about the civil government that's in place?
What has he left us with? Every time the military goes, they leave us with a heap of mess. And they also make sure that the next person who's coming is a person who really has no moral authority with the people. The way they bring them in, the kind of stage they set. Who do you think, why do you think that Benazir Bhutto was taken off the scene? And who took her off the scene?
So the elections a complete waste of time then?
No, I don't think they are a complete waste of time, because I think the military also hears what the people say. And it reinforces us. Because we know, and we are reinforced into thinking that what other people have said is the same way that we are thinking. Otherwise, the military divides us all the time.
Omar is on the line from Dublin. Good to hear from Ireland. Go ahead, Omar.
Hello, good evening, Chris. My question is that the Pakistani government, especially in the last 6 years, there has been a double standards on the way they confronted the extremism in the region, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. On one hand, they try to show to the world that they control them or they are serious to resist them, but on the other hand, especially I'm talking about the I side, they still support them as a way of, the hegemonial expansionism in Afghanistan and to the Central Asia. So I think that for the time being, they are confronting the Taliban in the Swat Valley. But again, we will see that in a couple of weeks, this issue will calm down and the Taliban will find a way out of it, and the policy of double standards will continue from the Pakistani side, and especially from the military units.
Omar, thank you for that. And I wonder when you heard about the deal being struck for Swat Valley, for example, based on, for example, what Omar is saying now, what was your reaction? The idea that there could be some sort of compromise with the Taliban?
Well, I'll tell you what our official reaction, because we had long discussions in the Human Rights Commission, was that we have to allow the political forces to do what they want to. We can say, we don't think it's going to work out. We don't believe that it's a question of Islam or Sharia. And I want to repeat that, and I still believe it. It's a question of holding power by a certain group that was groomed late in 1980s, that has got together in the name of Islam, and they actually now believe themselves and want to make each other believe that they are going to have their brand of Islam not only in Pakistan, but in the entire world.
An email that's come in, maybe we could touch on this, on a possible solution, from Maher Oserian in Connecticut in the USA. who wrote in saying the Taliban in Afghanistan and Pakistan cannot be addressed through the military option. The Taliban thrive on it, so does the United States, resulting in the suffering of the average person. The solution is economic and political. Is it as simple as that?
No, I don't think it's simple as that. It is included. I think political solution is very much has to be there. For example, now look at FATA, which is the Pakistan frontier tribal areas, where political parties were never allowed to operate, even to this day, for 60 years. Why were they not allowed to operate? And I am amazed that the international media calls it, the autonomous region of Pakistan. It is the most controlled region of Pakistan. Whenever I have gone there, the government has known that I have gone there. Which house I have gone, what I have eaten in the past. It is the most controlled. And today, they have 20 seats in the parliament, including the National Assembly and the Senate. So the military actually controls even the parliament through these FATA seats. All the narco trade goes through there. All the route for Afghan trade goes through there. Gun running goes through there. So, I mean, it's not as simple as people think it is. It really is a very complicated and complex situation where you have a struggle for power, and in the 80s, you got a whiff that you can win, and secondly, you put the coat of Islam on it.
I'm going to ask you more about this in a moment. We're taking a very short break here. We'll get back to the discussion. As we pause, though, let me remind you can call in to join the conversation with your questions and comments by logging on to livestation.com and entering the chat room, and you can see the debates taking place in there right now. We'll be right back.